Hello everyone. So today we're looking at the Cambridge IGCSE Information and Communication Technology, the course code 0417 or 0983. And we're looking at website authoring, and we're looking at topical questions um, pertaining to website authoring for people one. I think I can just put this here, people one, for people one, which is the theory part. Okay, so we're going to begin with the first one. Okay, it's important for you to know that the marks will always tell you the points, right? A style sheet for a website can contain both styles and classes. Explain the difference between a style and a class. So for the CSS syntax, it has a selector and a declaration block. So I'll probably okay, so let me do something here. So here we have a selector here. Then we have the declaration here. So we can have TD, for example, and we can have padding, and then we can have 25px. Now notice this right here is an HTML element. Okay, this here is the property name. It's the property name, and this right here is the property value. Very important. Okay, so essentially um, styles are used, right, to add declarations to our work, right? Most time it could be any kind of styles, right? So this is very important. It could be inline, um, internal, or it could even be the attached or what, the external. So when we look at the differences between a style and a class, we see that a class begins with a full stop. And it's important to understand that what separates the declaration is a colon that separates the property name from the property what value. It's also important to note that using styles in your web page helps you to be consistent in the way the pages looks. Using styles in your web page helps you to be consistent in the way the pages looks. Using style is much quicker and easier, very important, than applying individual settings, because what we do in the body section is to apply individual settings such as the font face or font size, text alignment, and font color to every piece of text in each web page that you create. This is so important. Okay, so it's important for you to know that when we use the styles, they are easier because it helps us to be consistent. So whatever properties we declare, whatever properties we declare here, it becomes the same across your web page instead of adding or applying individual settings. So let's get to it. Let's get to it. So let's talk about the differences. So the first one here is that a class definition a class definition name starts with a full stop. or what you call your period. Again, it's important to note that a class is used for adding or changing a style within the CSS or the style sheet. Okay, so we can use that class for adding or changing a style within a style sheet or within a CSS. So once we add the class, we can say, okay, this is the particular thing that this is actually what doing. Okay. Now another thing here is that classes are subtypes within an element. Classes are subtypes within an element. So that's another important thing, right? So there are subtypes within an element. So you could have other styles and we can bring it in. So there are subtypes within an element. Another thing we need to take note, probably I'll put this for others, is that classes are user defined. Are user defined, whereas a style is predefined. Okay, let me do this. Okay, predefined. Again, we see that classes are defined in a style sheet. Yeah, so they are defined in a style sheet, whereas styles are defined in the head section of the web page. Okay, I think we've covered that enough. Let's look at the next one. State the web development layer where the style sheet is used. So let's do that. So where the style sheet is used is seen in what? The presentation layer. It's important for you to know that we have three types of web development layer. We have the content layer, we have the presentation layer that we talked about, and we have the behavioral layer. So this is very important. So when we talk about the presentation layer, this is where the visual impact of the web page is created and contains the styles to be used, such as the color themes or font, etc. etc. Okay, so this is very important. I'll probably just write it here. So the presentation layer is where the visual impact of the web page is created and contains the styles to be used. Examples: color themes, fonts, etc. When we talk about the content, this is where the content, like the text, images, are placed. Okay, okay, okay. So this is also where the page structures, such as the frames, your tables, and hyperlink, are also placed. Okay. Absolute and relative file path are used in the content layer when creating a web page. Explain the difference between an absolute file path and a relative file path. So let's explain the difference here. So let's talk about the difference here. So we will talk about the absolute file paths contains a complete URL or full file path. Okay, full file path with the file name. Okay, contents of the URL, which includes protocol, the website domain, okay, specific file, subfolder, page name. Another one, this is the relative to the current part. Okay, we can also see it as the start from the same folder as the web page. So it is the relative to the current part. So when we talk about that absolute file path, now for the absolute file path, it contains a complete URL. That simply means that it goes through your C drive to the computer name, to to the folder name and then to the file. But when we talk about the relative file part, we're simply saying the current part, right, from the same folder. That's what we're saying. The current part from the same folder. So that simply means that that particular file must have been in the same folder, which is seen as what? The current folder. Explain why absolute file path should not be used for hyperlinks to locally saved web page. So here, if the web pages have moved, then the references refer to an old or previous file path. Will not work. Okay. So this explains why the absolute file path should not be used for hyperlinks. Because if that web page has been moved, right, then that reference which refers to that old file path is not going to work. Okay, so this is very important. So that is why it has to be relative, because when we move the same folder to another computer, it would work. But when you move that particular web page to another computer, because it has a different file structure, it's not going to work. Anchor and hyperlinks are both used in HTML. Compare an anchor with a hyperlink. Your answers must include similarities and differences. Now, one of the things about anchor, right, and the anchor begins with this, the A tag, is that it allows user to move from one web page to another part. Okay. When we talk about the hyperlink, right, it allows the user to move from one web page to another. Now, notice I said the same thing. Both of them the anchor can move from one part of a web page to another, while the hyperlink can allow the user to move from one web page to another. It's also important to know that when it comes to the anchor tag, it determines a fixed point on a web page, and we can also use it as a bookmark. And the anchor tag can be placed at any point on the web page. Okay, because the hyperlink essentially is allowing the user to move from one web page to another. Again, hyperlink can be attached to a block of text or image. Okay, so this is very important. Of course, the codes with hyperlink can be the hyperref or the relationship or even the target. These are the codes within a hyperlink. Okay, a hyperlink can be clicked on, right, to cause another web page or part of the web page to be displayed. So essentially, hyperlink can redirect users to an anchor by including its name. Hyperlinks are clickable. See that? So this is very important. Okay. Um, we also see that when it comes to, so in a nutshell, right? Anchor tags create hyperlinks to navigate between web pages or sections or even external resource. Hyperlink refers to clickable links, right? And is defined within the anchor tag using those codes that I talked about. So when it comes to the anchor tag, they can create that hyperlink to navigate between web pages, not just web pages or even sections or external resources. Okay, so let's look at the difference between them here. So here you have an anchor allows the user to move from one part of a web page to another part. We also see that an anchor, this is 4 marks. So here we're looking at the differences. So I'm starting off with the differences. Okay, starting off with the differences. You can see that an anchor is a label that identifies a specific position in a document. It identifies a specific position in the document. Okay. Another difference is the code within an anchor will either be name or ID. Okay, so let's look at similarities. For similarities, both are used for navigation. Okay, we have others for similarities. Both can be attached to icons, text, graphics. Both are links in a web page. Let's talk about others here. Others in differences. I think I have something to talk about here. So we can see that a hyperlink as a difference. A hyperlink can be clicked on to cause another web page or parts of the same web page to be displayed. Okay, so I think that's all I can add here. A lot, and you're like, okay, do you have a private tuition? Don't you have? Do you have? And yes, Ajiro Tech do have a private tuition. So by my right, you can see that we have for the EdExcel and Cambridge IGCSE, and yes, we do have for all subjects. Okay, all subjects. Okay, the popular ones that's always been in demand is mathematics, English language as a second language. Okay, we have physics, we have biology, we have chemistry, and we have um, you know the flagship, which is ICT, just here and there. We also have business studies. So if you're interested for a private tuition, um, I think all you have to do is send an email to the sales team at ajirotech@gmail.com, and they would reply to you, talk about your time zone, talk about, and the fees really quite affordable. Really, it's really quite affordable. It's when you look at it across other tutoring service, I think this is the one that's quite affordable and you get the very best of service. We also have for the E levels as well, um, and also for the EdXL. So we have for the Cambridge E levels and EdXL E levels. Okay, and we have also across the subject mathematics, which is usually the hot cake when it comes to E level, mathematics and chemistry, and then biology. These are usually one of the ones we have in demand always, all the time. Even physics, for E level. So all you have to do, if you're watching this right now and you are interested for a private tuition, then you can do yourself a solid, okay, and send an email to the sales team at agile@gmail.com, and they will reply to you. And the good news about this is, what I've discussed with the sales team is, we've tried as much as possible to see how we can subsidize the amount according to countries, so it doesn't really look very, very heavy. Okay, so this is really important. Yes, we do charge in pounds, but again, we try to be as much as possible considerate to your countries, and we don't just skyrocket the price. No, because at the end of the day, we know how it feels, and we really want you to actually get the best of service, and again, be able to afford it from the comfort of your home. So again, Agile Tech private tuition is currently ongoing. You can enroll yourself for the IGCSE, and then for the E levels. Again, for the IGCSEs, these are the subjects, and for the E levels, these are also the subjects. So again, what are you waiting for? Just send an email to the sales team. If you're an IGCSE student preparing for IGCSE, if you're watching this in 2025, when this is in 2026, when this is 2027, we're currently ongoing, and this is actually a good time for you to actually explore, and then get it tailored to your own needs. So trust me, you don't want to miss out. Of course, hyperlink are also clickable. Hyperlinks can redirect user to an anchor by including its name. Those are points you can also use. A hyperlink can be attached to a block of text or images. These are differences. Okay, we talked about the fact that the code within a hyperlink can be the href or the relationship, talking about the rel, and then the target. Meta tag can be used in a web page. A meta tag can be used to define the viewport settings. Identify three other items that can be defined in the meta tag. So we have here, we have the name attributes. We have the car set, which is your character set. You can actually put this. We have the content attributes. Okay. So they are used to define the viewport, how the user is going to view the web page. Meta tags are used in the HTML of the web page. State the section of the HTML which contains the meta tag. So the meta tag is included in the head section. Okay. A web page has an attached style sheet in the head section and also has an inline style attribute. in the body section. Explain why the inline style attribute is used. We'll talk about the inline style attribute is the one that falls in the body section. The one that you have to do with styles equals to, and then you put all this here in whatever tag. It could be in your H1, it could be in your table, etc., etc. Right? So here we can see that inline style attributes have a higher hierarchy than external style sheets. So this simply means that even if you attach the style sheet in the head section, for the inline, when you are defining, right, a particular style to that HTML tag, that takes higher priority. Okay. If there's a conflict, if there's a conflict on an element, then the inline style attributes will apply. Okay. For others here, I think we have others. We can just add this for others. It applies style attributes that do not appear in the external style sheet. Another one is inline style attributes apply to one single web page. Unlike the attached sheet that can be unlike the attached style sheet that can be applied to multiple. Okay. The internet contains three web development layers. One layer is the content layer. This is used to enter the content of a web page structure. Name and describe the other two web development layer. So we have presentation as a layer. Okay, so the description here is it defines the format of a web page. Okay, elements, show styling. The next one is behavior. To enter scripting languages to a web page. Okay. Explain why tables can be used to structure elements within a web page. Now, the reason why we use tables to structure is the fact that one, it allows greater control over page layout, positions, elements on the page. It displays data. So the whole idea why tables are used is greater control. We want to control where this goes, the position elements on the web page, how we positioning this, and of course you can also convey the relationship between item. I think I can put that for others, for other. So here we can convey relationship between items. Style sheets are used in web pages. Explain the term style sheet when used in web pages. So one of the things we'll start with is the first one is part of the presentation layer. Okay, it is used to describe the presentations of a document written in HTML. So part of the presentation layer used to describe the presentation of a document um, written in HTML. Now, another thing for the style sheet, we can just probably add this in order, is it can enable, it enables the separation of presentation and content. Okay. Explain the differences between attached style sheet and inline style attributes. So let's talk about the difference between them. So the first one here that I have is so the attached style sheet and the inline style attributes. So the attached style sheets are separate from the web page, whereas inline style attributes are within each web page. The next one, an attached style sheet is edited in one file, that's the CSS, whereas inline style attributes are edited by changing each web page. So the attached one is the one you send, you prepare in a separate document .css, and then you attach it in the head section. The inline is the one that falls in your body section with your style equals to, and then it could be width, colon. You get the idea, right? Okay. So the next one is attached style sheets link has to go into the head section of the web page. Whereas inline style attributes can be anywhere in the web page. The attached style sheet can be applied to multiple pages, whereas the inline style attribute only applies to individual web pages. Okay, now it's important for me to add this, that the inline style attributes can be used to override. So, for example, I can want my paragraph to be left in this attached style sheet, and in the inline, I want it to be right. The one the inline takes precedence, right? Override the attached style sheet. Okay. A child Andy has taken a photograph of himself and Gideon Sunday using a digital camera. He needs to increase the size of the image to include in a poster. He now wishes to edit the image to remove his friend. He edits the image by copying it and removing part of the image. Describe the step by step he would describe step by step how he would crop the image. So how do we do this step by step? So let's see how we can do this. We already know what to do. So here we'll open the graphics. Notice you don't mention the software. Graphics editing software. The next one is we would load. Okay, let me clean this one. We would load or import the image. We would select the image, and then would click on crop. Click an edge or crop handle of the image. We would click and drag the edge or crop handle inwards until crop area appears. Then we'll click done or finish. Then we can now save the image. It's important to use the save as instead of just save, right? To get it with a different file name. So this is basically how or the base to which you can actually crop your image. So it's important to write all the steps complete a lot, and you're like, okay, do you have a private tuition? Don't you have? Do you have? And yes, Ajiro Tech do have a private tuition. So by my right, you can see that we have for the EdExcel and Cambridge IGCSE, and yes, we do have for all subjects. Okay, all subjects. Okay, the popular ones that's always been in demand is mathematics, English language as a second language. Okay, we have physics, we have biology, we have chemistry, and we have um, you know the flagship, which is ICT, just here and there. We also have business studies. So if you're interested for a private tuition, um, I think all you have to do is send an email to the sales team at ajirotech@gmail.com, and they would reply to you, talk about your time zone, talk about, and the fee is really quite affordable. Really, it's really quite affordable. It's when you look at it across other tutoring service, I think this is the one that's quite affordable, and you get the very best of service. We also have for the E levels as well, um, and also for the EdExcel. So we have for the Cambridge E levels and EdExcel E levels. Okay, and we have also across the subject mathematics, which is usually the hot cake when it comes to E level, mathematics and chemistry, and then biology. These are usually one of the ones we have in demand always, all the time. Even physics, for E level. So all you have to do, if you're watching this right now and you are interested for a private tuition, then you can do yourself a solid, okay, and send an email to the sales team at agile@gmail.com, and they'll reply to you. And the good news about this is, what I've discussed with the sales team is, we've tried as much as possible to see how we can subsidize the amount according to countries, so it doesn't really look very, very heavy. Okay, so so this is really important. Yes, we do charge in pounds, but again, we try to be as much as possible considerate to your countries, and we don't just skyrocket the price. No, because at the end of the day, we know how it feels, and we really want you to actually get the best of service, and again, be able to afford it from the comfort of your home. So again, Ajiro Tech private tuition is currently ongoing. You can enroll yourself for the IGCSE, and then for the E levels. Again, for the IGCSEs, these are the subjects, and for the E levels, these are also the subjects. So again, what are you waiting for? Just send an email to the system. If you're an IGCSE student preparing for IGCSE, if you're watching this in 2025, watch this in 2026, watch this in 2027, we're currently ongoing, and this is actually a good time for you to actually explore, and then get it tailored to your own needs. So trust me, you don't want to miss out. Aisha Mohammed is looking for information on the internet for her biology project. She has found a number of web pages that are useful. Explain the following terms when referring to web page. Bookmark. So what's a bookmark? One way I can explain bookmark is that it directs the browser to a specific web page. It allows the user to easily access favorite locations on the web. If you're looking for other, we would see that it can store the title, URL of the corresponding page. Okay. Anchor, a link or placeholder or reference point, whichever one you want to use. You also see it at links with another part of the web page. Hyperlink. The hyperlink is when the hyperlink is clicked, it could be a word or phrase or image. For more clarification, we can see this as it links to another document or page or website. Abdul Rahman Sani has found a website that is very useful and is planning to bookmark it. Describe the step he would need to take to set up a bookmark for the website. So what the first thing he's going to do? He needs to open the website. He needs to click on the address bar URL. He can click on bookmark, click on the bookmark icon, or you could just see um, add to what bookmark bar. It can be given the option to type in or change the name. Then you can now add the bookmark. So it is important that you always explain the steps in full. Okay. Ajiro ND has been asked by the Secretary of Manchester City FC to create a website to publicize its result, features, and other events. When the website has been created, it has to be published on the internet. Before the website is published, it needs to be tested. Write down three different features of the web page that could be tested. For each feature, describe the method you will use to carry out the test. So let's start with the first one, hyperlinks. Of course, from your right there in the home, you want to probably see the players, you want to see the coaches, you want to see the facilities, you want to see other clubs that they also are in affiliation with, and all these tickets where you can get your tickets. So hyperlinks, right? Hyperlinks. Okay, so what is the method here? We can click each hyperlink to see that it takes the user to the current web page. Okay. Text. Okay. You can use spell checkers. You can also use grammar checker. You could actually proofread text to check it makes sense. Images. Check the images. Check the images are not pixelated. Okay, that simply means to ensure that um they are in their correct size, and of course to also check that um to check the image, the correct image. We have other things to check here. Permit me to use another one called video. I'll just use this for others, right? So we have video. For a club like Manchester City, you would expect to see some videos of highlights and something else, right? So for the method here, you want to check the videos run correctly. Okay. There's also sound, right? You want to check that the sound files runs correctly as well. You want to also check that the current sound files are actually what linked. Okay. Ajiro ND searches his company website to find a suitable image for his multimedia presentation. Part of the markup language from the web page to load the image is shown. So this is the tag for your image. So you have the img as the HTML tag. This means your source from the spelling of source, and this is the relative file part. This right here is the alternative text. When the markup is run, the word company logo are displayed and not the image. Explain why this may be the case. So let's explain. One simple way I can say this is the image is not in the current or same folder with the HTML file. The image or the name of the image. It could be the image format, right? Or you want to call it your extension. Different ways to write this is incorrect. Now, the ones I use a slash, it's important that you don't write that, right? I'm only giving you two different options on how to actually write it. So if you see a slash, you can just pick from the ones, any of them, to actually write. It's so important that you don't use a slash, right? Okay, I'm just trying to think I did that in some of the questions. I've seen one already, but I'm just checking to ensure that just checking through. I think I did this for, right? I did this here. I also did this here as well. I think I did this here. So please, is important, right? I also did this here as well. So the image, the name of the image format extension is incorrect. So for 2 marks, 2 points. So I can put this for others. The image does not exist. It's as simple as that. Okay. The image has not been uploaded. Okay. Simple as that. Complete the following sentences using the most appropriate file format from the list below. Dash is a style sheet used in the creation of a web page. So the style sheet used in the creation of a web page is .css. Dash is a generic archive file format. Archive. So that's your .rar. That is the generic file format that stores still and moving images. That's your .gif. So not just moving images, it also stores that. That takes data in the form of tables and save it as text. That's .csv, comma separated value. The CSV. The following is an external style sheet which contains a number of mistakes. Okay, so this is the style sheet, the body, HTML element. These are your declarations separated with a column. Now we use the dash to join two words together. Okay, that's fine. Identify 5 errors which would prevent this style sheet from working properly. And for each error, write down a possible correction. So let's look at the first one here. The first one I want to talk about is there's nothing called text weights. So you need to, that's why you need to be familiar, you have to familiarize yourself with them. There's nothing as text weight. It's seen as font weight. Okay, font weight. Okay, the text align here, the center here, the spelling should be this center, the American spelling of center. For the font size, is missing a semicolon, very important. Text decoration, right? Text underlined, it should be underlined. Showing your errors. For the background color, what do you think is missing? The calling bracket like this is missing because it's not going to work. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we should have more. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 here. Okay, so that's fine. So let's put this into, let me start with the background. So for the background color, so it is missing error, missing brackets after the 6. For the text align, error, wrong spelling of center. Okay, so should be text align center. The next one is text decoration. Underline, error, underlined, should be underline. Okay, so we have font size, 22 px, error, missing the semicolon, from the end of the command. Text width bold, error, text weight should be font width. Okay. Fatima Yusuf attends the University of Cambridge and is taking a trip to Central America to study ancient civilization. She's taking a photograph of the temple of giant jaguar in Tika. She plans to place the photograph in a report which she would send back to the university via email. This is the original photograph here. Take note. Um, and this is the changed photograph. So let's write down 3 changes she's made to the photograph. What are the changes she's made to the photograph? Now, what I see here is that what Fatima has done is that she cropped the image. She added the text at the temple of the giant jaguar. The text is not here, so she added it. Um, Looking at both of them, you will see that the resolution was also changed, and this looks brighten a little bit. Let's brighten a little bit. So let's write the changes she made to the photograph. Cropped the image, add text, change the resolution. Okay, for other, brightened the image. Others, resized the image. Zainab and her family are planning to visit the Ajiro Tech National Park, and she's creating a web page about the destination. She has started writing some of the HTML but has made some mistakes. So this here is a comment. Okay, this is the head section. So we notice that this here, okay, this can be placed anywhere, literally anyway. This is the title. Now the title here should be seen in the head section. So what falls under the head section? So we have title, meta tag, style, script. Okay. The body, this looks correct. Background color, the styles, background color, there is no quote here. And this T body here. Okay, so this is for the body of, okay, I think that's fine. Your table row span, HTML width, image of an elephant, H1, a national park. Okay, so the source here again is this. This is the spelling of source. So SRC. So this is wrong. Okay, so this is the closing of the table of this TD. Okay, so write down 4 mistakes which will prevent the marker from working properly. Your answer must be different in each case. So let's look at those errors. So the first one is the head section. The closing tag of the head is in the wrong place. Okay. We can also say the title line is also in the wrong place, whichever one you want to use. I'm giving you so the title, you could say the title. Okay, so this is a forward slash line is in the wrong place. The T body style background color has no ending quote. The SCL is not correct syntax. It's not correct syntax and should be SRC. Okay, which one am I missing? Ha, found you. Look at this. This is the opening tag. This is the opening tag. But there is no closing tag here. Okay. So final table is not correct and should be this. Okay, so I think everything here has brought us to the end of this video. Please go over it again and again, learn with it, so that at the end of the day, you would learn and also know how to go about questions when it relates to to website authoring. Thank you very much. Bye for now.